Hey, it's Jason. We're here with volume 5 of incredibly useful exercises for double bass. Dennis Whitaker. I love this thing. Thank you for watching this. I love that the hour plus practicing videos I've been putting out have been doing well. So thank you for hanging out with me and practicing the bass. Let me get this camera on my head here. And I'm gonna try, what am I gonna do different today? I'm gonna try to actually answer a few questions. Or actually here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to see if I can actually record my phone, which I fully expect this not to work. My sort of thought with technology is nothing will ever work, but then some things work, and I'm happy. That seems pessimistic, but I think it's optimistic. Anyway, what I thought would be kind of interesting is I go on this run as many days as I possibly can. I did it today, and a few days ago, I was coming back and I was listening to a podcast I love called Video Creators, and they were saying every video you need to do has to tell a story. So I fully expect this to not work for my volume 5 of incredibly useful exercises practicing video, but let's just play this out and see if this works. So story planning. Who is the character of this video? I guess it's me, or maybe it's you, right? So let's just say you're the character, even though you're watching point of view through my eyes, kind of, sort of. Let's just say you're the character. What do you want? Probably, if you're watching a double bass practice video, you want to get a little bit better at playing double bass. You want to see how somebody practices the double bass. Why can't you have what you want? Well, you might not have enough time, you might not have enough knowledge, or you might not have synthesized the materials together enough. Okay, what's at stake? Ugh, can't talk this morning. What's at stake if you don't get what you want? Well, you might not get any better, right? Who or what comes along that helps the viewer do what they couldn't do before? Oh, is that me? Well, I think it's Dennis's incredibly useful exercises. So taking this material has definitely helped me in my practicing to, it's really been interesting framing these out like this. How do you get what you want? Well, if you want to get better at the things I'm working on, these incredibly useful exercises are certainly a good place to start, and you can check those out in the description below, or possibly above if I remember to link up there. And how are you transformed through the process? Well, hopefully you're going to get a little bit better at all these things that we're looking at here today. I promise not to do that every video, but we did it for this video. So here's what this one is. Volume 5 is Fingerboard Mastery Part 2. I did Part 1 last week, Volume 4. And so we do the affirmations, which I don't do here because I'm using the Kindle app and I just can't write on the thing. Silent centering, tappers. Boy, I haven't spoken any words today, so apologies. Spiccato, thirds, chompers, power 16ths, trills, dig it up, coordination, and then we close out with silence. Let's see how we're doing tuning-wise. I have a little pitch creep this time of year, but it's a little colder today in San Francisco. I was running through the fog this morning. Let's see where we're at. We're okay. My rosin is seriously weird today. Don't touch your bow hair, folks, as I touch the bow hair. This is the 40% hydration Leatherwood Bespoke rosin. I am enjoying this. This is their most recent batch. I think that people had a few issues with powdering or with something with the silicone casing. I didn't really have that issue, but I've had nothing but good experiences with this current batch. I usually use the 50%, but in the warmer months, I use the 40%. But it's a little colder today. It's mid 50s or something. So my rosin's feeling a little bit less grippy than I would like. I remembered to take off my practice mute today. Oh yeah, I'm sitting pretty well. Okay, I think we're in good shape. Get this over. Thank you, Modacity. This is Modacity, my practice app of choice. By the way, a lot of folks have asked about this. Mark Gelfo, who made this app, the creator of this app, CEO of the company, he and I have gotten to know each other. He is here in the Bay Area as well, and he's actually got a special lifetime price for this app if you want to get it. It's usually it's freemium, so it's a free app. This is not an ad for Modacity. Well, I guess it vaguely is, but it's a freemium. You get a lot of features. You get more if you pay a monthly subscription. You can get it for lifetime access. I'll link to that in the description below. But you can use anything for tracking your practicing. It doesn't have to be Modacity. Okay, silence. I really like framing my practicing that way. That is the first moment of silence really I've had today. Actually, I woke up, made a couple breakfast burritos for my wife and myself, put mine in the microwave, went for a run. I did 4 miles, almost to the Golden Gate Bridge, 4 miles, kind of walk, run back, got my day going, checked email and everything. And that's the first time I've sort of like cleared the deck. I should do that more often. Okay, so how'd that go? Sure, 4 stars. Okay, I love how Dennis gives us B major for silence. Centering, we've done this many, many times. This would normally be done in silence, but I'll just kind of take you through this. So you start, and he does any scale. I've been playing a G scale, but some of these I've been mixing up. So you just start and you play a note, and you just sort of connect with your feet, connect with your knees, go on, connect with your hips. And I'm just sort of like being aware of that body part. And then whenever it says breathe, I just bring my awareness to my breath. I don't try to do an in and out breath or anything like that, but that's just what I do. Then lower back, I'm just going up the body. I think this is a really good way to start the day. Shoulder blades. And notice we're starting from the bottom and we're going up, and I'm kind of feeling every body part as I check in with it. I'm feeling how it connects with kind of the lower apparatus of my body, if that makes sense. So I'm feeling now how my shoulder blades are connecting to my back, to my hips, to my knees, to my feet. And then we breathe. Normally, again, these are done in silence. Connect with my neck. That's a good one. Sometimes I'll play a few bows on that one. And I had a couple of days ago, I don't know what I did. I slept funny. So I had like tension Sunday into Monday all along. Like I could even feel it in my jaw and in like my upper trapezius. That has left me today, thankfully. But yesterday I was playing this. I was playing that G for a while, just sort of like seeing if I can lengthen and relax. Then face. Yesterday I was feeling those jaw muscles, just trying to let them go. Bring my focus back to my breath, and then right shoulder, elbow, and then you go back down, and we're going back down to the wrist. Again, we're paying attention, then the fingers. So we're paying attention to the whole apparatus of the arm, radiating back down into the body, eventually into the feet. So and whether you're standing or sitting, this is all the case. You're just kind of connecting everything. And then you do the same exact thing for the left arm. I'll just quickly do this. So take a breath, then left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, left fingers. Sometimes just moving the body part can sort of help. Breathe on the C, and then just think about the whole body. Kind of feel feet all the way to head. Think about lengthening. Take as many bows as you need. Now just your arms, the parts that most directly engage the base, but really everything engages the base. And then breathe. It's a great exercise. Usually that times out perfectly when I'm not yakking through it. How'd that go? Yeah, 4 stars. Sure. Good job, Jason. Okay, tapers. These are great. I'm going to try to use a metronome a little more today. So these are written in C major, and the tempo marking on this is 60. Another thing I love about this app is it remembers your last metronome marking and your last pitch choice. So what I'm going to do for tapers, and the idea is use 4/5 of the bow for the quarter, 1/5 for the 1/8. So it's going to look and sound kind of like this. I think I'm going to play all closed strings today, and I'm going to put on this cool feature that Modacity has, where you can have a drone and a metronome, and you can change the length of that. I think it's pretty cool. So I'm droning on the 5th, we're in C major, I'm droning on G, and I'm going to try to use most of the bow on the first note. Here we go, ready, and... So the idea, at least what I interpret from these from Dennis, the way I try to practice these, and I didn't do a great job just now, but I'm trying to do extremes. I'm trying to make the first note as big as possible. Make the string go as wide as possible. Make it fat, like Dennis says. Make the string fat. And then really see how much I can come down. Now, the rest of these exercises are variants. So we do separate bows starting down bow, then separate bows starting up bow. I'm going to try to be good about timing and not yak on and on today. This is taking me about 45 minutes. Actually, this is taking me less than a half hour when I don't talk through it, which is interesting. Okay, spiccato. Actually, Kurt Muroki, Indiana University bass professor, he and I were messaging about some of these exercises last week, and he brought up some really important points about particularly trampolines, which I'll get into the next time I do trampolines. They just aren't in this one this week, and I may have given some bad advice in terms of using just the thumb and first finger. So I'll talk more about that. And you know, I actually, well, you can watch the last video to see what I was talking about. So practicing, getting the bow just kind of bouncing on its own. I was talking in the last video about doing thumb and one by itself. That may cause you some physical problems. Shedding, I'm kind of paraphrasing from Kurt. And you know, as I think about it, I actually don't really practice that. I can't remember the last time I actively did this myself. So I do think that just dribbling a little bit, there's some benefit, or I found there to be some benefit. Kurt was mentioning to me how you can combine a lot of these exercises into one, which is absolutely true. And I'll be interested to see what I do with these exercises as I keep going forward. I really like when I'm getting into a new system or a new method book or a new etude book or whatever, to try to live in that person's world, live in their shoes, live in their viewpoint, and kind of do exactly what I'm seeing. And then I always end up kind of amalgamating things into my own blend. But right now I'm trying to do exactly what I'm seeing on the page and what I understand. So this exercise, the spiccato, I've done this many, many times, and I've talked through half the time, so I won't play the whole thing today. I have actually been, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I've been starting at maybe this kind of a tempo. Oh, and by the way, this is written in F major. I have done this in other keys. I did it in G major and in E major. F is a good one because it puts a couple notes on the E string, but you still get over the G string. The problem is anything above like A flat, well, I guess you could play A major and start on the E string like this, but I like practicing spiccato on all four strings. So you want to do one with a key that the root is on the E string. Or I don't know, I guess you could do it lots of different ways. But what I've been doing is playing maybe just, it's also incredibly difficult to do this with a metronome because it does groups of 8, groups of 7, groups of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So a metronome is kind of impractical unless you've got a great mathematical brain. So I just sort of find a tempo. Sometimes I do a slower and a little heavier. Sometimes I do a little faster and lighter. But whatever I do, if I feel myself starting to fatigue or I feel clarity starting to leave, I actually will just kind of like, I've got like a lever. I'll just like slow my tempo down. So let's say I was doing 5s. So I kind of downshifted. I was feeling like I was not in love with my stroke on those 5s. So I thought, okay, when I approach the 4s, I could have slowed down during the 5s, but I'll maybe take the tempo down a notch. So 4s. 3s, I might even take it down a notch. The idea is, I'm trying to train myself to. I don't want to practice with a bad sound, or building up bad habits is don't practice rather than practicing in a way to build up bad habits. So with spiccato, for me at least, I sort of self-regulate. As I go through this, I might actually start a little on the faster side. Maybe I should start on the slower side all the way through. I don't know, now that I'm talking through it. But by the time I get to where I'm just running up and down the scale, I may actually only be like a... And we could talk for hours, maybe on a future video, about starting on or off the string, or how it works with the string crossing, that kind of thing. But time is up, according to Modacity. So we're going to move on. That was not great because I talked through it. Two and a half stars. I'll be a little hard on myself today. Thirds. Okay, and before I start thirds, because this is a new thing, I've gotten some questions about my bass, which I guess I've never really talked about. This is a bass by Albert Jackstad, made in 1995. It has a low B. Oh, I didn't even notice. I have this God, I'm so unobservant. This string sticking out here. It has a low B extension made by Chris Threlkeld Weigand. So you just flip these open like guitar capos, and it goes down to this beefy low B. People have asked about the strings I'm using. They are a set of D'Addario Kaplans that are in desperate need of changing. I think they're probably 2 years old. I should have changed them quite some time ago. I just hate changing strings, in part because, well, one, because I'm a moron and I lost my string winder, or all the string winders I've owned in my life I've either given away or lost. Number two, I have these Sloan tuners, which I think have a 50-to-1 gear ratio, so they're annoying even with a string winder. Without them, it's like an afternoon to take strings on and off. And I think I have a bunch of sets of strings that companies have sent me. I'm not wanting for strings. What I am wanting for is time and desire. So one of these days I will pop on some new strings. So anyway, that's about this. Oh, my bow. This is a Bernd Doling gold mounted bow. I got maybe 12 years ago or something like that. I think I paid $4,000 for it 12 years ago, so I don't know what it would be now, but it's a nice bow. My friend Andy Anderson, we put out a bunch of YouTube videos a decade ago that have like 1 million views between them all together. So Andy is in the Lyric Opera of Chicago. Andy had this bow and I played it and I said, well, it's great. It's good enough for Andy, certainly good enough for me. So I bought it and I've really enjoyed it. Okay, this is a new exercise for this series of Incredibly Useful. These are thirds. Jeff Bradatage, who teaches at University of North Texas. Both Dennis Whitaker and I have spent some time working with Jeff over the years. These are great. Okay, so it's double stops. This takes a little bit of strength, I guess. I don't want to make anything sound hard on the bass, and these are not hard, but they require you to, be closing 2 notes throughout. So there is it's just twice as much strings as you're closing, I guess. So I'm trying to monitor myself as I'm going through these and make sure I'm not holding any tension or developing any tension. And if I feel anything, I stop, I take a break, I center, just kind of reset. I like practicing this with the drone. I like to drone on the 5th. I usually drone on the 3rd octave, but it's a little quiet on this app maybe. So I'm going to put it on the 4th octave. I'm going to play slow. So we play thirds going up the bass, and we just start. Here's our first pattern. Then we go up. And you can see my hand. I've got all 3 fingers, 2, 3, and 4 on the E string. 1 is on the A string. So I can play them as a double stop, but right now I'm breaking the... And for me, I have them both down pretty much equally right now. In some circumstances, I'm going to turn this off so it doesn't drive you crazy. In some circumstances, I might rock the weight between my fingers. But because I'm changing the notes so frequently, I really just have them both down. And so I'm just keeping going up in the bass like that. I think I did the fingering Dennis has right there. I love the drone because it just keeps me honest. I'm not the most out of tune player ever, but I'm also not the most in tune, so I need to be constantly reminding myself. And now if you're a beginner, or these are new to you, that might be plenty. Or frankly, if this doesn't feel great, hang out on that bar. Or maybe take these first 2 bars and just go between them. You can modify these exercises to whatever level you're at. So you can just go between those 2. And then that motion from the G, B flat to the A, C, for a lot of people, that's going to take some time to develop. A way that you could develop it is just check with that A string. And it's obvious if you're out of tune, you can do what I did right there, which is go between the closed and the open. You could also, there's a harmonic under there. It's an E, so it's not the same note, but then also you can just visually see if it's in tune. There's sharp and then flat. It sounds even worse to me, flat. But so you can take your time on these and feel free to put infinite repeat markings around each bar as you see fit. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit to just get through it so you can see a bigger picture. Now, for a lot of people, that would be absolutely a great spot to stop. For a lot of people, you could just stop right here. If you're not comfortable going into thumb position, what I did is I intentionally played D harmonic. So I had some sort of foundation to rest my intonation on. Then I played G harmonic. Then I think it's really good. Just I've used this in these videos before. Trust but verify that your intonation is good. By the way, these exercises, I'll take it all the way up. They go like this. And then, is that right? Yeah. And I think that's where they stop. Do they stop on the... Yeah, they stop on the B flat D, and then they flip the pattern around. I'll get more into those later in videos. And then lots of variations. So when I'm not talking, I usually get through 2 to 3 of the variations with the time I allotted for myself on that exercise, which is like, I don't know, 4 minutes or something like that. That wasn't awesome. They're going okay, but I was teaching through it rather than talking. Okay, so chompers, we've done this before. This is for building endurance in the left hand and arm. Dennis talks about how he practices the rotating forearm motion frequently when he has some spare time in the car, at rehearsals, or at work at his desk. He takes his left arm on the table, lifts up, and goes like this. That's my interpretation of it. That's essentially the motion I am doing through these exercises. So if I do it without the bow, you can see everything's just kind of engaged. I am not typing. I'm really chomping. I think I picture Pac-Man, although that's not how my arm's moving. I got to think about what a chomper is. But does he describe what a chomper is? Anyway, sorry, getting distracted. Okay, so let's play through this. I'll put a metronome on. Why not? So this is 90. I guess I haven't practiced with the metronome because it's not on there, but 90. Dougie, 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 dum. I'll just have the metronome. Bum, ba ba da ba da ba da ba dum. 2, ready, and. A string. E string. Reverse. A string. And just like in all these exercises, Dennis has center at the very end. He gives you this little pattern at the end, which is a little finishing move, just a little bit different. And I feel when I'm thinking about this motion I'm doing here, it's like there's finger percussion, but there's a relaxation to this motion too. I've worked with people when we're developing this motion. I can see that they land and they're activated with the muscles. I'm not activated with the muscles. I mean, in a sense, I would be lying on the floor if I wasn't somewhat activated. But I'm using the. I wish I was better describing this thing. I'm using just kind of the natural motion of my forearm to get that clickage and almost that kind of pull off, like electric guitar, electric bass kind of hammer on pull off motion. But I really feel like it's coming from my arm. Again, take a break with these if you're feeling anything in here, it will build up some muscle actually practicing these, but there's definitely a fine line between stressing your tendons and ligaments and that kind of thing. So definitely err on the safe side, just like I'm trying to do with my running. Even though I'm getting back into running, I know I can go probably further with my muscles than I can with my joints right now. I'm trying to just be smart. So I try to be smart with this. When I'm not talking through it, I've typically with chompers, I've been doing it twice, once about that speed and once just a little faster to just kind of, push myself a little bit. Always trying to push myself every day to move ahead in these things. Okay, great, chompers, good. Okay, ooh, we got another new one, power 16ths. People have been asking also about the sound. I think I probably talked about this once on here, but this is a Zoom H6. It's just a normal consumer product. I use that for podcasting, particularly when I'm on the road, but it has an XY capsule here and another Omni capsule, and this seems to sound pretty good on my bass. I've been thinking about getting into doing some mic reviews. People have asked for mic reviews on bass. I know myself, and I know that I have a tendency to blow a ton of money on gear if I'm not careful. So I'm sort of trying to remember my tendencies and not get too far into that world. So I'm just using what I have right now. But don't be surprised if you see some new mic reviews in the future. And if you see one, there's a possibility you might see like 5 more after that. So just have to look out for that. Okay, this is definitely, talk about building capacity. This is power 16ths. This is like when I hit this uphill stretch on my run and I'm like, oh, do I want to be doing this today? But it's good for you. So the Dennis's why, okay, just demonstrate the principle that playing fast is easy, playing loud is easy, but playing fast and loud takes conditioning and strength. And this will do it. So we are going to play all these sets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it really is a set like lifting weights. You're just doing it over the note B. So it's just loud Bs on the string. You could do probably any note, but that's a good one. This B right here. Okay, I'm going to be kind to myself and give myself a little more rosin because this 40% hydration on this slightly chilly day, I just don't want to work that hard today. So I'm gonna let the rosin do some of the work. Ooh, that's a little chunky. Oh no. There, okay. That my life just got a little easier now. Okay. So I'm gonna play 30 seconds at quarter equals 130, take 15 seconds off, then the same thing, 140, 150, 160, then 130. So it's like 4 ascending sets in terms of challenge and then a recovery set. One more thing with this, it's more important to play this through at the correct tempo rather than to play it loudly. That is true. If you find yourself getting like, that's not going to do you any good. You want to really make sure you activate the string. Okay, so that's what I'm going for. I'm trying to make the string fat as I can. Displace the string as much as I can, and just be aware of what muscles I'm using in the right arm and with my whole body, and try to get as big a sound as I can with as good a tone as I can using just what I need. Okay, that's enough talking. I have this timer set to ascending because you can see more clearly how this works. I'm going to turn the metronome on. It's on 130, and I'm going to start at the 15, and I'll play for 30 seconds. So get the metronome going. Playing B, 1, 2, ready, go. Yeah, I was starting to feel a little bit fatigued in there, so I was actually trying to focus down to the ground, to my feet. Okay, so we got another set coming up here at 1 minute. Trying to go back to my center. Take a breath, ready to go. Okay, take a break, pop up to 150, and stretch. It is a workout. 2, ready, go. Okay, and anybody who hasn't played an orchestra might think this is insane what we're doing here. Anybody who's played some of the pieces Dennis talks about, like Tchaikovsky 5 and that sort of thing, understands the need for this, but you got to be careful with this, folks. One more set. Oh, what? Metronome, and... Okay, and then one recovery set. And this is like my musical equivalent of uphill running. The sun's coming out, by the way. Very stereotypical San Francisco. It's a little after 10. The sun breaks through the fog. Okay, oh, so slow. Feels so much better. Okay, so this exercise definitely, there is, so here's what, minutes, takes a little time, control, mindfulness, no expression, that's true, power, velocity, endurance, you know, kind of high. Yeah, Dennis is the fastest he's measured himself playing in a live concert. 16th notes at quarter note equals 160. Tchaikovsky 4, last movement. 8th note triplets at half note. Schubert, C major, and Barber of Seville. Yeah, you need these skills for orchestral playing. I mean, they happen, but you definitely want, I'm going to get a drink of water. You definitely want to be careful that you don't injure yourself. It is, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's only a few minutes, but you just want to be careful. You don't build up any bad habits. I might wait on that one until I was working with a teacher if I was just learning these off the internet, but it's good to have a teacher. Anyway, so hopefully you are working with someone or are able to work with someone in the future. But there's a lot of benefit to this one, I think. I've never really practiced like this before. I'd love to know if you have. Okay, done. How'd that go? Oh, that wasn't that bad. Well, I gave myself a little more rosin today, so I'll give myself 3 stars on that one. Okay, Trills. We've done this many times. Talk through it. Dennis has a great description of it on his YouTube channel. I'm going to use the metronome today. I don't think I've always done that. And they start at 120, and then the tempo decreases as the notes increase. So we'll just... Oh, and I don't need subdivisions. It's cool. You can have all these subdivisions in modacity. But I just need the 1 click. Okay? 1, 2, center, and again we are using a pronation motion here in our left arm, not a typing motion for these. I could probably do whatever, but that's what I'm trying to do. Variation A, da de da ba da ba da de da ba de ba da de da ba da ba 2 and. Good. Now he's going to slow down the tempo for variation B, go down to 88, 90, 88. So this is going to be ba-dim, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da, ba-dim, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da, ba-dim, da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da. If you find these challenging, take your time, hang out on variation A for a while. This one, there's a little more cognitive demand on these higher subdivision ones. Ba-bam, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, ready, and go. These terribly, did I just tell myself good? What's wrong with me? I don't find these terribly physically demanding. It's just more like getting in the groove. Oh, that's why I had subdivision on. I kind of like this one with 8th notes. Ba-dim, ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-dim, digga-digga-digga-digga-da-dim, digga-digga-digga-digga-da-dim, digga-digga-digga, ready, and go, and. Hopefully you can see my left hand okay in there. I don't have these 100% memorized, so I'm kind of like having to look over here too. But that's the idea. Great exercise. He does them in the upper octave too, but we're doing lower octave mastery today, so that's what that's all about. Yeah, that was okay. Dig it up. Bucket-em, bucket-em, bucket-em. This is great. This is another one of these. This particular one, Volume 5, is a nice mix of left-hand stuff, right-hand stuff. It's great. Dig it up. So we'll do metronome 124. I was doing it yesterday, so it's down here. So it's going to be like, dug it up, dug it up. I'm going to do it all closed strings today. You could do whatever. And the first time I read through this, I thought that Dennis had made bowing errors in here, but he's just mixing up the pattern. So you kind of have to pay attention, or you do have to pay attention, at least I have to pay attention, to what direction you're being directed to go. You want to keep them on the string after you play, too. So it's like... And you'll find that with the sequence of up bows and down bows that are there, you should basically be able to stay within the same like chunk of bow like that. Okay, so here's the beginning. I'll tell you, ooh, can you hear that sympathetic vibration? That is a great example of that glowing tones exercise that we've had in a bunch of these other volumes. I'm more acutely aware of that than I had been just a few weeks ago. It's really cool to listen for that. I mean, I've seen that at conferences and before, and I'm aware that your bass will ring sympathetically when you play certain notes, but it's really cool. This one benefits, I gotta say, I mean, you don't want to rely on rosin. This one benefits from rosin, as do a lot of things. I think Tim Pitts, I think I've said this in this practicing series, but I heard him quoted somewhere saying 3 swipes of rosin equals 3 hours of practice. There's something that's something to ponder. Okay, so we'll move on right there. Coordination. Okay, I am not great at this exercise. I'm just going to give that up front. This is so inspired by an eye-opening lesson with Paul Ellison. I would have loved to have been sitting in on this lesson, but this one right here. So coordination. Yeah, this exercise, it's like taking what is tricky. I don't want to use the word hard. Challenging. There's the word. What's challenging, to me at least, is going this direction with your body, okay? So now that's not completely true though, because actually in some ways, I almost find like it's more natural to close in with both arms, but there's something about making rapid motions like this that I just find inherently challenging. So this exercise is... You see, I'm losing already, so I'm going to go slower. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my life, back when I was taking orchestra auditions or just back when I was in school, decades ago, I would play something and the problem would be diagnosed as my left hand and right hand aren't coordinated. So that's the point from what I take of this exercise. So we're going to go not too fast. We're going to go 94, I guess. It's marked at 114 because I was at 94 yesterday. So we'll try it a little bit. And so you see, I biffed that shift. So I have to decide: do I want to just keep going? What am I practicing? And if you're new to this, what I just did might be more than enough. You could just take those 3 positions. You could just take that. Heck, that's a good motion. We could slow it down. Right? Because what we're doing is actually fairly sophisticated. We're doing a finger replacement, and then we immediately continue this coordination exercise. So that in and of itself, that motion right there is a coordination exercise in its way. So probably, it's a little depressing to admit this, but I probably was practicing it even too fast yesterday. Let's try 74, and let's put a subdivision on. And let's put on I've got a little pitch on the E with their dun to And my wife would love hearing this, by the way, because like I am, you're probably noticing like what's my tendency? Rushing, like probably most string players. But it's funny, she would come into the room back 10, 15 years ago and she'd say, "Oh, it's interesting how you always practice a 16th note ahead of the metronome." And I'm like, that's what I don't want to do. That's totally what I'm doing. Okay. Deep breath. 1, 2, Good, and now here's where my rosin is foiling me. I'm getting a little gummed up. Not that that's an excuse. And what Dennis has is a cut here, optional cut, which is actually a cut that makes sense for low position mastery. And then you just resume it right here. Essentially what you're doing is you're just going up to this high A, and then you just turn the pattern around. Which, for whatever reason, I just find that motion easier. And I don't know why. That's interesting. I don't know why that would be, for me, for whatever reason. It feels more comfortable to go from a high finger to a low finger. It's just like my body's moving this way versus this way. So I don't know. It's a great exercise. It's beaten me up. And I have been taking it up to the high A, although probably as I'm talking and playing through it here, I should probably just stop on that A. Probably that's what I'll do the rest of the week. And I'm going to admit defeat on that one. And I think the last one is silence. So we will end it. All right, that's my morning practice. A little more chatter than what I normally do in my morning practice, but I love using Modacity for this. That was a while. That was much short. Yeah, 38 minutes. Okay, so that one. These have been timing out differently for me. That one and number 4 were a little shorter. Some of these have been more like an hour or so. So I'd say I've been averaging between a half hour and an hour for these when I practice by myself. Maybe I should spend more time on them. That's kind of what I like for technique, is somewhere around the 45 minutes to an hour kind of timing. So I like that. I practice this in an earlier portion of the day usually. Sometimes it's not till after lunch. Today it was like 10 a.m. So that's a little, somewhere around before lunch or after lunch is usually what I do for technique. In the afternoon, I practice repertoire, but I got to go to Trader Joe's, get some stuff for the week. Thanks for hanging out. If you liked this, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. If someone wants to follow along with double bass practice, obviously feel free to share this out with anybody, and we'll see you for volume 6 next week.